So the next question has to do with, and by the way, these documents are on this website here, hbneighborhood.org. And this document is the LA County Health Department put out this document in 2011. And it's reducing, the name of the document, Reducing Alcohol-Related Harms in Los Angeles County, a City and Communities Health Report. So they took 117 cities and communities in all of LA County. LA County is about 10 million people. And 117, and what they did is they divided it up and looked at certain aspects of alcohol outlets and alcohol outlet density. So for instance, alcohol outlet density for on sale and off sale. So on sale is something like a restaurant or a bar or whatever. That means you consume the alcohol on the site, on the premises. Off sale is like a liquor store or something. So for 117 cities, in the area, so for off-sale alcohol out density, we ranked number 4. So there are only 3 cities with more alcohol outlet density in LA County. And as a comparison to LA County as a whole, we had 4 times the number of alcohol outlets on a per capita basis for all of LA County. Real quickly, there's 7 South Bay cities that border the ocean. That's El Segundo, Manhattan, Hermosa, Redondo, Torrance, Rancho Peavy, and Palos Verdes Estates. And within this report, they drew the conclusion of an alcohol outlet density to violent crime. So within those 7 cities, we were number 1 in violent crime. We had double the rate of violent crime compared to Manhattan Beach. I'll read the question. Do you agree with the findings and recommendations in the Reducing Alcohol Harms in Los Angeles County report regarding the relationship of alcohol out density to increased violent crime in a city? How many new alcohol outlets should be added in Hermosa Beach? How many existing outlets should be granted later hours than 10 p.m., have dancing, or serve hard liquor? And that would be for Pete.
Oh, thank you. This is question 7?
6.
6, I'm sorry. Okay. As we've heard the findings, we have to agree with them because facts are facts. I feel that any crime should not be tolerated in Hermosa or any other city. The South Bay in general has always had an alcohol problem for a long time. We call it the beach culture, beach party culture. I grew up here and I have been witness to that, and it's gone on for years. Hermosa has seen strict enforcement during the 4th of July holidays, which has helped with this problem, but this is only a few days of patrol. Ask our police about the rise in violent crimes, and they will tell you that the early release of prisoners has somewhat contributed to this, and probably more than we care to think. There is no easy answer to this. Hermosa has a great influx of people who come to party, sometimes already intoxicated. I call it pre-primed, as I said earlier. We continue to find ways to reduce these figures, but it's a constant changing game of an atmosphere every night. We don't know who's coming, what they're on, where they've been. As far as new off-premises, liquor stores and markets, I feel that we do not need to allow any more in the city. New on-premise, restaurants, etc., in that category, I feel that they should close at 11 p.m. Existing outlets closing by 10, beer and wine by right, should not be granted additional hours. I think we need to take a stand that if we say you have beer and wine by right, I know that now they are allowed to come in and ask for a variance to stay open longer at night, but I feel that we need to stop that tradition. And the real question is, how does Hermosa really break the beach culture? Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Stacy?
Thank you. As I've discussed with the chief and law enforcement officers, and as common sense would tell us, there is a connection between alcohol serving establishments and alcohol consumption and violence. The City Council has capped the number of CUPs covering late night alcohol serving establishments in Hermosa. Currently, we're capped at 37, but we have 41 in town. So we're still exceeding that number. I see no reason to revisit increasing that cap number at all. Since the discussion about an 11 p.m. closing versus the existing 10 p.m. closing time for some alcohol serving establishments is on the future agenda for our Planning Commission, I really look forward to hearing public comment on that and what our commissioners are going to recommend. We also need to establish and regularly police more safe routes to school for our children. And I would say that that's a higher priority for me than finding ways to increase the number of hours of operation for alcohol-related businesses in town. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Matt?
Thank you, Al. As far as the question, do I believe that that there's a direct relation here to violent crime and the alcohol density? Yes, I do. There's two aspects of this I want to visit. There's, as Mr. Tucker had mentioned, we do have people that come here to this city, and we have our local Hermosa crew. We do not separate those crime statistics between local people and people who come visit. I think you would not see parity there. I think you'd see a big difference. As far as increasing the alcohol density within Hermosa Beach, I think we already have an overflow of a type of establishment that really appeals to people in their late 20s. As of tonight, it's 10 o'clock. If I wanted to leave here and go get a drink for myself with a more mature audience, maybe a more high-quality alcohol or wine, I'd be very limited. So as far as saying I want to go ahead and reduce the number of alcohol outlets in here, I would increase them if it appealed only to high-end, more established, more mature people in the city.
Thanks, Matt. Mary?
Thank you. I think the findings are very clear, and they speak for themselves about the density of alcohol outlets, the higher the crime rates, and the alcohol-related harms. So I actually learned something from Stacy. Maybe I thought we had 39 liquor licenses, but 41 is what you said, I think. So I know that I've been told there's some interest in reducing that down to at least potentially 35 liquor licenses. I think we need to pay very close attention to the density factor and create realistic goals to reducing it or changing some of the problematic patterns that exist today over time. But there's no quick fix. We can't undo this overnight, so we need a long-range and very careful approach, which includes partnering more closely with our business owners who are probably also kind of in a groove around their business model, and they do what they do, and I'm just a very optimistic person about what we can do when we come together and we talk about moving the ball down the road in a way that works for everyone and is a win-win for our community. So, a lot of things being addressed right now, some of which we've talked about throughout the evening, the environmental design and the better lighting. I think that's great. But I just will emphasize, I think it's a parallel approach, something shorter term, and then coupled with a longer range planning process
You can summarize.
where we've got these anchor catalyst projects coming in. That might help shift some things, but I think we can do more than that, and I don't think if we come together, we may find ourselves a little stuck in the mud moving forward.
Thanks, Mary. Haney?
So I think that another of Al's tricky questions about asking us if we agree with conclusions of a report that was prepared several years ago by professionals. That's their job to do this report. So my short answer is yes. I have no reason to doubt the conclusions of the report. It was done by professionals, and I assume that the conclusions are accurate. As a city, we are aware of crimes that result from having too much alcohol in our bars or downtown area. We get periodic reports from our police department about incidents, including DUI arrests, including other alcohol-related arrests and fights and altercations in our downtown. We have evidence of several fights and altercations, including, unfortunately, some of our police officers, which prompted us to go look into this issue a little bit further, and also made the point of us hiring a private security to help us with our management of our downtown. So in my opinion, there's clearly a relationship between alcohol outlet density and increased violent crime in Hermosa Beach. As far as specifics for the establishment that we have, I agree with the existing cap on late-night establishments that prior council has put into place, which basically means that we do not need to be permitting any new late-night establishments that serve alcohol late night until we have this issue better handled and managed. As to any existing businesses that would like to have additional hours or have changes to their CUP, there's a CUP modification process, And that modification process goes through the planning commission, and it's evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
You can summarize?
And any entity that currently exists that has a CUP that thinks that CUP should be modified should go through that modification process.
Thanks, Haney. Trent?
Yes, most of our alcohol-related issues center around the pier area, and they center around late night. So I'm still in the opinion that we could do more with our policing and with the business owners themselves to mitigate any issues we have regarding alcohol and the pier. And I think the cameras go a long way, and I've also said that perhaps we should park a cruiser in the courtyard at Saturday night, Friday night. I think that would help. Regarding alcohol specifically, though, and increasing in Hermosa, I do think there's a couple of properties in Hermosa that could use a nice restaurant when they get redeveloped. And those are our gateway properties. And those properties are on the corner of Artesia and PCH, and also on the corner of Prospect and Aviation. Those two properties, especially Prospect and Aviation, that's a gateway property, and at some point it's going to be redeveloped. So Susie's is there right now, and I know Sal, for a long, long time, wanted to get a liquor license, and he was denied.
Can you summarize?
Yeah, I'm just saying that when that gets redeveloped, and if a nice restaurant goes in and wants to have drinks, and they close at 10 at night, I don't think we should automatically say no.